Hey, it's Wacko Bob here once again, and I'm taking a break from my usual rant on Christian Voice 08, Brother Ken, to do a little something on pro wrestling for a change. I just got through listening to the Vince Russo shoot he did on WrestleReaction .net on the Hangout there, and I gotta say, um, a lot of what Vince Russo made a lot of sense. There's some things I agreed with, and there's some things I disagreed with. And just so people know, I'm part of the minority. I like Vince Russo. I don't blame Vince Russo for what happened to WCW. I think it's wrong to blame him. I, however, got to say that, in my opinion of things, though, I think there's some things I could safely say I disagree with Vince Russo. I didn't agree with everything Vince Russo did. There are some things that during his most successful time that he was absolutely great at, but there are also those things that I also got to take a look at and say why did he do that? What was it worth? Was it worth the price to really take him on? To take on certain things. I mean, I'm not knocking Vince Russo. Just so people know that I'm not knocking him. I like Vince Russo, and he does great shoot interviews. He has good ideas that haven't been able to come to the forefront. And if these good ideas really start to come into something, he's right. There are people that disagree with it, and in the end, those building blocks you're trying to put up, you wind up knocking down, and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to think about with what goes on in pro wrestling today. I mean, you don't go now. I know what he talks about with Wrestling 101, but I'm a fan of Booking 101. And when I say that with Booking 101, I could, like I said, I could go over the things I didn't agree with Vince Russo. Mae Young giving birth to a hand, I didn't like that. There were, I mean, the whole thing with Terry Runnels' pregnancy, even though she was really pregnant, and then playing off the storyline that she lost the baby, I didn't really like that. I thought PMS was something very, very creative for two women that didn't really have much going on at the time, and you really made something out of that. But looking at this for what it is, I gotta say that Vince Russo, if you should ever look at this video, I like you, bud. I think you know I have a radio show too. It's not a wrestling radio show. I haven't done a wrestling radio show since my show, The Dark Match. Um, but I gotta say that in my estimation, I gotta say that I don't think, um, I really don't think that some of the things that you said are true. I agree with you on Bray Wyatt when you talk about WWE, but he's one of the hot superstars there. I don't think he's the hottest. For a big guy like him, he's awesome. He's got what it takes. He's got what it takes for being the big guy. You really got a gimmick that is working. The Wyatts, can be comparable to the Freebirds or the Four Horsemen, in more of a modern sense. But, man, I take that back with Four Horsemen. I'll say the Freebirds. But how long is that going to last? How long is that going to last for him? He's hot right now. I don't know if I would make him the world champion. I would probably want to put the Intercontinental title around his waist just to really elevate the Intercontinental title again, because the Intercontinental title really has gone down over the last few years. Even though I am a fan of, and then they're really dropping the ball with him too. I am a fan, and I am talking about Big E Langston. I like Big E Langston. I think they are dropping the ball with him. They had him lose. They had him lose some matches, and really dropped his value down. Now they're repackaging him with Xavier Woods and all that. And him and Kofi Kingston, two great talents that really Kofi should be battling for the Intercontinental title all the time. and truthfully, so should, and really so should Big E Langston. But I look at some of the things that were said with the Wyatts, and these are some of the things with the Wyatts. Truth let it be known, when it's time to end the Wyatts like you ended the Shield, you really got to look at the fact that that you're going to have to repackage these guys. The only one who really has what it takes is Bray Wyatt. He's the only one. After that, the other two are really going to have to be packaged in a different way when you finally decide to end that one. The Shield, everyone saw what happened to the Shield, and I think each guy from the Shield has gone on to success, including Seth Rollins. I like Seth Rollins. A lot of people did not see Seth Rollins for being what he is. And truthfully, I think I think Seth Rollins, and I can see where they're coming from. Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns were being looked at as the guys that would succeed. But I think that's also why you saw Seth Rollins become a heel, because you tend to last longer as a heel. A lot of wrestlers that were not having success as a babyface all of a sudden go to being a heel and they make it. Then they could go to a babyface, and some of them do better as a babyface. Looking in at what it is and what it's all about. I gotta say that Bray Wyatt, one of the best. If you look at the top echelon of guys, you gotta look at the ones that are most over. And probably the biggest one who's over, and too bad he's injured, is Daniel Bryan. I gotta say, Daniel Bryan is probably, as far as guys over, that's him. If you look at anyone else who's over, who's over like he is? Number 2 would have to be John Cena. And truthfully, to say that John Cena should not have defeated Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania would have only destroyed John Cena, a guy who had gotten over on The Rock. Now, John Cena, after getting that victory over The Rock, you needed to have him be the unified WWE World Champion. You needed that out of him for a couple of reasons. You needed, because he was probably the number 2 guy over, especially where the baby faces go. That he was the one who was basically that you had that you could do it with after the injuries. We're gonna sideline Daniel Bryan like he was. The other thing you got to look at here, and this is more a rant on wrestling than anything else. I agree with a lot of Vince Russo's rants, but he is right. They could be doing better with Bray Wyatt, but you got to look at the Wyatt family. I think eventually, before you do that, eventually Bray's got to be the only Wyatt left, and you got to repackage the other two. Whether you're going to keep them as a tag team or move them on to other things. But truth is, when I look at WWE, I agree. 3 hours of Monday Night Raw is too much. The only time you should be having a 3-hour show is on 2 situations. I would only be doing it for the pay-per-views. With the exception of WrestleMania, I'd make that longer because WrestleMania's got to be epic. If I were to compromise and do something beyond 3 hours after WrestleMania, maybe SummerSlam. After that, your only 3-hour shows are supposed to be pay-per-views. After that, you look at Raw. Raw and SmackDown should be your 2 top shows. They should be 2-hour shows. And, it should not be one brand and then the other. It should not be an A show and a B show. I know that Raw, because it comes off the pay-per-view, is going to look more like the A show. Okay, that's great. You give it the edge. But if SmackDown was not on the Sci-Fi Network, which I think limits SmackDown's appeal, and let's say they got to go on free TV again. Let's say they went with Ion Television. WWE signed a better contract with them, and SmackDown got to be there on Friday nights or Thursday nights, however they want to do it. You got to do something more where it's about the best of the best. The best storylines, the best wrestlers, the most over wrestlers. You got to be doing that. SmackDown and Raw should be coming off on Monday nights to really start off the week, especially after a pay-per-view. And SmackDown, whether it's on Thursday or Friday, should keep everything going. I know what WWE is doing with the WWE Network. I know they want to do a lot more there. Truthfully, reality is Raw should be 2 hours. You really are doing a 2-hour show in 3 hours, which is ridiculous. It really is. Do 2 hours, leave something off for SmackDown, and have two successful shows. One on USA Network with cable, the other one on free TV. Go back on the WB or go on or CW Network. I'm sorry, or on Ion Television. Truthfully, and I gotta say this, Vince Russo, I absolutely agree with you there. Where that goes. However, to me, what makes it worth watching. Worth watching WWE, and after they've done their stuff, it's over. I am a fan of Roman Reigns. I agree with Wrestle Reaction. I think a lot of good things are going to happen for Dean Ambrose. I don't think he's going to be the world champion. It's going to be Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns still has to work out a few more kinks to get there, and I think maybe if he gets it worked out and going into SummerSlam, and I think he is slowly getting him worked out, and give him a big win over Kane, you can get him into that right direction. Maybe have him go into WrestleMania if you're going to do another Undertaker match at WrestleMania, which will be Undertaker's final match, and you want to put his career on the line. I don't know if I would do Brock Lesnar versus Undertaker to make that happen. I'd do it with Roman Reigns, so he could get the rub. And I would build up, and tell you the truth, if Brock Lesnar is going to defeat John Cena, I don't know what's going to happen at SummerSlam. That's still a week away from when I'm recording this. But I would like to see Brock Lesnar win that title. And I would literally let him hold the title for a year. Going to SummerSlam 2015 with him, have that build-up be something that didn't happen at WrestleMania. It happened at SummerSlam, so it's special there. And have Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. I don't know who would win. I don't know what Brock Lesnar's future is, because Brock Lesnar is a part-timer compared to Roman Reigns. But if you could get Brock Lesnar to do a little more of a full-time shuttle as far as TV tapings, and only in some of the bigger places as far as house shows go, and have him, where that goes, have him show up for the TV and the pay-per-views more than anything else. Have him show up from time to time. If you're going to do a show in West Palm Beach, Florida, don't have him perform a house show there. But if you're going to do it in Miami, then yeah, definitely do it there. And have Brock Lesnar there. Because West Palm Beach, you're only going to get an auditorium. Miami, you're going to get an arena. But I think you're really looking at... I look at what Vince Russo says, some things Vince Russo said, they're really all over the place. And what he says about the corporate structure of things, if they don't like it, they're not going to do it type of thing, it really doesn't speak for the fans. And I think when Vince Russo is one of those, he likes to see the reaction of the fans. And he likes to put up the building blocks. So a lot of what he says makes sense because he's getting they're blaming him for not building up long-term feuds, long-term storylines. They want to blame him, but truthfully, that was happening. That was not happening because of Vince Russo. Yeah, hang on here. I just got to write something here. So I mean, we gotta really look at things for what they are. You know, Roman Reigns, John Cena, Daniel Bryan, Bray Wyatt. I would have Bray Wyatt, up on there too. In fact, let me list this as the top people in WWE right now. As far as the best of the best that the fans really want to see. And I'll go to number 5. I don't know if I'll try for 10, but even though he's injured, if he was still there, number 1 is Daniel Bryan. Number 2, John Cena. Number 3, I would say Roman Reigns. Number 4, Dean Ambrose. Number 5, even though he really still isn't the same wrestler he really was, I'll say Randy Orton. Number 6, even though he only really wrestles a part-time schedule, Triple H. And to tell you the truth, people say he should be over both Randy Orton and Triple H, and probably should be over and Seth Rollins too, is Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt probably, to a lot of people in that one, with the way I got him listed, should probably be number 4 or number 3. Truthfully, I think eventually done right, if you do things right and you work out the kinks and you get everything done properly, Roman Reigns could jump, because I have Roman Reigns listed at number 3. He could go from number 3 to number 2 over John Cena. John Cena is pretty much over. That's why they made him the world champion after you lost Daniel Bryan, because you wanted your most over guy to be your unified champion. So that's what it is. I know I'm taking a long time. I know I'm procrastinating here on this video, but truthfully, that's what you need. Those are the people you need. I have them listed at number 8, I'm sorry. It should probably be number 4. Number 9, and they should probably be listed higher, and probably it should be, in my opinion, because I have the Usos. I think the Usos are probably the only thing happening that's making tag team wrestling in WWE look interesting. If they break up the Usos, they're going to destroy the necessariness of the tag team division, and you're going to get rid of a tag team that should be as legendary. The Usos right now should be as legendary and on the same level as the British Bulldogs. If you keep letting them dominate and you keep letting the Usos make their progress and let them dominate as the champions, and like I said, their progress keeps going, the Usos should probably eventually be on the same level as their family members, the Wild Samoans. And the Bulldogs and the Wild Samoans are not too far off of each other as successful tag teams. But the Usos have it to be at the same level as the Steiner brothers. I did a listing of all-time tag teams on one of my radio show, and I had the Steiners listed at number 3. Just under the Road Warriors and the Dudley Boys / Team 3D. So, I mean, the Usos should be making tag team wrestling famous. I think there's a certain level where they're dropping the ball with them. But I think the Usos, they're going to keep them together. Right now in WWE, to me, because I like the wrestling to be involved in it too. I am Wrestling 101. I've been watching wrestling for and been a fan for 35 years. So to let people know I am 40 years old. Right now, the top of the list for the top guys to really sell your shows are John Cena and the Usos. Those are your top guys. Just underneath them, and they're not underneath them by much, is Roman Reigns and Bray Wyatt. And just under them is Seth Rollins. And they're not too far off of each other, just for the record, too. But Vince Russo, I agree with you. I think if you got to do the storylines the way you wanted to do it, number one, you'd be putting up the building blocks and not tearing them down like you've been accused of. Because that's still going on in WWE now, and you're not even there. You haven't been there for years. That's still going on in TNA all the time. I think what's happening to wrestling and the state of wrestling really does stink. But if you want Raw to be successful, Vince McMahon has to get aggressive again, but at the same time, he's got to be smart. And I know he has to think of the corporate structure and being the fact that they are public, but there is a way of doing it. I don't know if Vince Russo is the one who could put that one together, but I'll tell you right now, Vince Russo's got better ideas than the things that you're seeing done by the writers of both TNA and WWE right now. I know the rumor is Vince Russo is with TNA, but I'll be honest with you, I can't confirm it. I used to be a defender of TNA, thinking it was a better brand, but I've got to be truthful there. If TNA lasts into 2015, by this time in 2015, I'll be surprised. I'll be surprised because I think TNA is missing it. TNA without AJ Styles, without a lot of those TNA originals, including Jeff Jarrett, even though I'm not big on Jeff Jarrett's drawing ability today. But Jeff Jarrett knew how to fill things and balance things out, even as an on-air talent, and that's a good thing too. That really builds up a wrestler long term as well too. But I really got to say that truthfully, when I look at wrestling today, it stinks. Can Vince Russo turn it around? He stands a better chance than what's the people writing wrestling today, including Jim Cornette. I got a lot of respect for Jim Cornette. I am a fan of Wrestling 101, and I love Southern wrestling. I'm very much an old school fan, but I'm also a fan of what Vince Russo has done with wrestling too, because he was the only guy to take the young talent and make them. And you know what he did? He made them without having the old guard putting them over. The Rock never had Bret Hart put him over before Bret Hart left. It just simply happened at the snap of a finger with The Rock at some point after Bret Hart had left for WCW. So, I mean, there's a lot to look at here. There are things Vince Russo deserves credit for. But I gotta say that when I really look at pro wrestling today, like I said, I'll say it. Unfortunately for me right now, it is WWE over TNA. And that's after me being a TNA mark for a few years. But I gotta say that, it's not saying much for WWE. And the only things that make me want to watch WWE is, number one, the Usos. Number two, Roman Reigns. Samoan heritage, I guess. Call it what you want. But those two guys, they got it. So, I mean, John Cena, because after he's the other guy that's the most over after Daniel Bryan. That was a wise move putting him on and making him the unified champion. And if he retains the title at SummerSlam, it's all good. I think there'll be another rematch for them by the time you get into Survivor Series. You may want to go long term with John Cena. He did get the big victory over The Rock in their second rematch. They should have happened the first time. But I think the only thing that's going to really keep John Cena, maybe make him the number one guy, would be if you did make John Cena a heel again. With that being said, I know I procrastinated. This could have been shorter, just like Raw. Either way, I'm out of here. It happens. That's all I can say.